What is the timeline of a standard personal injury case, and what can you expect in your case? The first thing that typically happens in a personal injury case is we're going to reach out to the insurance companies to make sure that they know that you were injured in some sort of incident or some sort of accident, because that leads them to preserve information. The second thing that tends to happen is that our clients are generally receiving medical treatment for the injuries that they've suffered. And then once they've been cleared from medical treatment, then we tend to send a demand over to the insurance carrier. Sometimes our clients are severely injured and they might be treating their injuries for multiple years. In those cases, we might have to file a lawsuit before sending a demand to an insurance company, because an insurance company typically wants to see all of your medical bills and all of your records before they evaluate your settlement claim. If you're still treating your injury and we don't have all of your bills and your records yet, we might hold off on a demand until we file a lawsuit. The typical statute of limitations for the standard personal injury claim in California is going to be 2 years. I say standard because that can differ based upon whether or not you're suing a government entity or have some sort of claim that's outside of the norm. But that's generally what's going to happen in the pre-litigation phase. We're going to notify the insurance company. We're going to send them a representation letter and a preservation letter to preserve any and all evidence that they may have. We're going to collect your medical bills and your records to send a demand. And then we're going to send a demand to try and settle your case. Now, sometimes your case can settle in the demand phase. If it doesn't settle in the demand phase, it's because we believe that the insurance company is lowballing you, or they're denying that they caused your injury. And if that happens, then we file a lawsuit. Once we file a lawsuit, what typically happens is we file the lawsuit, then we serve it upon the defendant. Once they are served personally, they typically have 30 days to file an answer to your lawsuit unless they request an extension for one reason or another. Then once they answer the lawsuit, we're going to send over a discovery request, and they're going to send us discovery requests. Discovery requests are typically a bunch of questions related to your background, your education, your work history, and the incident itself. And both sides are going to exchange those things. Typically, after discovery requests are exchanged, then both sides will start setting depositions. They're going to want to talk to you about the accident and how it occurred, and we're going to want to talk to the defendant about how the accident occurred, as well as any employees if it were a slip and fall or a trip and fall type of claim, and what they were doing to inspect the store at around the time that you injured yourself. So that's discovery. Once discovery is largely completed, and discovery can last anywhere from months to a year, depending on how big the incident is, how many witnesses there are, and how many documents are exchanged between the parties. Once discovery is over, in the typical case, cases are going to go to mediation, which is an opportunity for a case to settle. And then if we can't resolve this at a mediation or a settlement conference by a judge, then the case is on track to go to trial. But generally, I would say, at least for our firm, 90 to 95% of our cases settle outside of trial. We're either able to settle cases in the pre-litigation phase, during the demand stage, after your deposition and negotiations with opposing counsel, or at a mediation, which is an informal resolution process that usually involves a mediator who's a retired judge or a retired lawyer that probably handled a lot of cases like yours when they were a practicing attorney or a practicing judge. If all of those points of settlements fail, then a case may in fact go to trial to a judge and jury. That's going to be the timeline of a typical personal injury case. So when people ask me, how long does a personal injury case? It depends. If you have really good liability and bigger injuries, they might accept liability, but they might want to take a case in a litigation to get your deposition testimony before they settle a case. For smaller cases with good liability, those are the ones that I'm usually able to settle more quickly, unless we have a bad insurer on the other side. And what I mean by bad insurer is that there are some insurance companies that settle things quicker than others. If we have a particular insurance company that we know likes to lowball you, then we know that that case is going to take a little bit longer, versus some insurers, they usually give us a decent offer if we have good liability and good injuries, where they're probably going to settle the case sooner rather than later. It really just depends on the luck of the draw in terms of who you're hit by, or who's the carrier of the building or the business where you hurt yourself. If you good liability, good carrier, good injury, and smaller injury, we're probably going to settle your case a lot sooner. Bad liability, bigger injury, that one is probably going to take a little bit longer, and we will probably have to go through litigation, if not months. Some of our cases take a couple of years to resolve. Good liability, big injury, that case may still take longer, because before an insurance company is willing to give us 6 figures or 7 figures on any case, they're going to want to do some investigation. So they'll spend a little bit of money to investigate your claim, make sure they get your prior injury records if you have any, prior health records if you have any, do some investigation on you, take your deposition before they decide to give up 6 figures or 7 figures to you. So that is the general timeline of a personal injury case, and why your case may range from a few months to a few years.